Welcome to the Hatter Sports Network. I'm Kayla Johnson.
And I'm Kaylee Melville. And this week's hot topic, we're going to be talking about the NCAA and how they've changed the new transfer guidelines. So stick around for that.
The hot topic for this week, we are going to discuss the new NCAA transfer guidelines. Now, what it says is that the NCAA is going to put a restriction on athletes who want to transfer and play immediately. The only athletes that will be able to do that is if they have an injured or ill family member, and they can only go to a school within 100 miles of their family member. So after knowing that, Mel, as an athlete, what do you think about this new rule?
As an athlete, I'm actually really excited that the NCAA is doing this. To have a family member at home that is sick, sometimes it is hard to get home, and you don't always have the money to pull that off. But also being an athlete, I can see how this might cause some problems with the NCAA and athletes, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of kind of under the rug things that people won't really know about, whether it's true or not. And I feel like kids who are perhaps having a bad time at one school are going to use this as an excuse to transfer to a different school. So it's a really great rule, and it's really cool to see the NCAA trying to be fair to everyone, but I can see some problems coming from this for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely see that as well. I also agree with you that a lot of people are going to use this, to just go to another school. If they don't like their previous school, they're just going to say, oh, I have an injured family member, and just,
Right.
go to a different school. But I want to know, how are they going to even prove that their family member is dying or injured or whatever the case may be? I
feel like the NCAA, they're very strict, and they stick to a certain set of guidelines for sure. So I don't think this is going to be one of those things where the athletes can just call into the NCAA or tell their coach that someone's sick and they're able to transfer and it's fine. I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of background work that goes into it. They're going to have medical papers. They're going to have to know for sure that family member is actually, like you said, able-bodied or definitely ill in order for those kids to transfer. Because transferring is a lot of work as an athlete. And I know the NCAA isn't just going to let these kids go wherever they want. There's going to be a lot of work done behind it. So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
The part of the rule that stuck out to me is that the family member must be injured or ill-bodied, like we talked about. What if the athlete is just extremely homesick? What do you think should be the transfer rules then?
You know what? I feel like if a player is homesick, he should be able, or she should be able, to transfer and go to a closer school to home or wherever the case may be, because at the end of the day, you want your athletes to perform at the highest level. And if they're not performing because, they're missing home or they're missing their family, I think the NCAA should really put focus to that as well, because, homesickness can include in depression. Athletes can start becoming depressed and not wanting to go to class, and it could affect their performance on the athletic field and in the classroom. So I think if they're homesick or if they're just not enjoying the school they're at, then they should be able to leave, because college is for, having fun, not only playing your sport, but enjoying the college atmosphere and enjoying that lifestyle.
Right. And I would have to disagree with you on this one.
Okay.
Being an athlete, this is something that you come to school for your job. If you get paid as an athlete, you have an athletic scholarship, this is your job. Okay. And you know ahead of time whether or not you're going to a far-off school. And think of all the backlash that could happen if, an athlete just goes home because they're homesick.
Right.
What about all of the student body who's homesick because they're away from home? What happens to them? And then another question I would ask you is, if the athletes do get homesick, and you were talking about how they would be able to transfer, what about maybe the NCAA making a rule where they dish out plane tickets, like a certain amount of plane tickets to family members to come down and see their kids? Because I know a lot of girls on our team, their family cannot afford to come see them because their girls are on an athletic scholarship. So the family isn't paying, but they never get to actually come and see their daughter because they don't have the money to fly from, let's say, California or Minnesota. So maybe the NCAA could provide some sort of ticket.
I agree with that. I think they should offer a stipend to the athlete to provide their family with. definitely plane tickets, train tickets, whatever transportation they decide to take. I definitely think the NCAA should fund those athletes to allow their family members to come in, because sometimes homesickness is, 2-3 weeks. Sometimes it lasts a year.
Right.
So I guess it all depends on the person and their personality and how they feel being at that school. So I totally agree with you on that.
Awesome. Do you think that this should be, this change should allow athletes to go anywhere and then play immediately?
As far as like any athlete wanting to transfer despite, having an ill family member, I think that athletes should be able to have the choice to change schools, because a lot of the times athletes come on their college visits and the coaches, the staff, the athletic department, they all put on their best faces for these athletes when they come.
Right.
And then when the athlete actually gets there and they realize, what, this is not what I signed up for. I did not sign up for, whether a coach is being spiteful to this athlete or the school is not what they thought it was. I think that they should be able to make a decision to transfer and be able to play immediately. Now, what I will say is that them not playing immediately when they transfer could actually help the athlete and give them more years to play, because when you transfer, you can still practice and, participate in scrimmages, just not in games, but you still have an extra year to play.
Right.
So I think at the end of the day, they should be able to, play immediately, but if the NCAA doesn't change that rule, I think it benefits the athlete. So what do you think about that?
I'd have to agree with you on the last part about the transfer rules right now, at least of my knowledge of them for men's basketball or anything like that, is in order for you to transfer, you have to sit out a year before you can play. If we go into these athletes playing immediately, the issue I see here, let's use the Atlantic Sun for an example. Before Belmont left the conference, they were the top team of men's basketball. So say one of our men's basketball players decides, you know what, Stetson basketball just isn't doing it for me. I'm going to go ahead and say one of my family members is sick, and I'm going to transfer to Belmont my senior year and get a ring my senior year because I know that they're the best. So there's a little bit of an issue there, and I know we talked about NCAA is going to have to approve everything and, find out if someone's actually homesick or not, but I just feel like there's going to be a lot of backlash with that.
A lot of controversy.
However, the way I would handle it if I was the NCAA, not saying that I have that much control over what goes on, but in my personal opinion as an athlete, there are many things that can happen to you in your season. You can go down, you can tear an ACL, you can break an ankle, and the red shirt rules, for those of you that don't know what a red shirt is, you come in and depending on what time you're in your season, if you get an injury, you can red shirt and get an extra year added on of eligibility. Now, that time period is only about the first 3 weeks of the season. So unless you're getting injured within the first 3 weeks, you lose a year of eligibility. So if I'm in the sports world, I'm a Division I athlete, and my dad comes down with cancer. In the middle of the season, I have to go home, take care of my family because there's no one else there. I lose a year of eligibility because it wasn't in that time frame.
Right.
So instead of maybe these transfer rules and be closer to home, I think if it falls under a certain set of criteria, you should get an extra year of eligibility. Since if you miss that much of the season, instead of just being like, oh, here, let's transfer you to different schools so you can be closer to home. Because you, at first, chose that school. That was your decision. So I think it's going to be...
Let me ask you this. Do you think that the athlete should have a choice, like using that same scenario, you transfer and go to a school, but you have to take care of your father who's sick. Do you think that athletes should make the choice, you know what, I want to take this year, I want to play this year, or I want to take an extra year? Do you think that would be too much for the NCAA to do that?
I think it wouldn't necessarily be any more than what they're doing right now. I think what it comes down to is the differences in schools and conferences. Let's say I live up in the Minneapolis area, and I'm a volleyball player here, and we're in Atlantic Sun, which is a mid-major Division I college, and I decide that I'm going to transfer to go home to take care of my family, and I'm going to transfer to a Big Ten school, which is a much higher conference. It's one of the big elite conferences in Division I. There's a huge gap of play right there. So what happens to an athlete when they are maybe not necessarily forced, but they go to transfer to these big-time schools and they don't get playing time because they're not tall enough, athletic enough, just enough. Any of those rules, like any of those athletic rules. So I'm curious to see how the NCAA is really going to pull this off, because this is going to be a very interesting rule if this happens. So.
Yeah. And one last question, do you think this new NCAA tweak will bring a lot of controversy in the college sports world?
Like I said, I think it will definitely bring a lot of controversy. This is a big deal. Transferring is a huge deal within Division I athletics, and
I agree.
Some people do it for the right reasons, some people do it for the wrong reasons, and this is just one more rule that the NCAA is going to have a tight grip on, and if they're willing to take the challenge, I'm sure they'll do just fine, but it's going to be interesting, very interesting.
I think so. I need everyone to take out their smartphones and follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and also email us at hattersportsnetwork@gmail.com and let us know who you want to nominate for our Athlete of the Week next week. And here are a list of upcoming games. Make sure you go out and support your Hatters. We'll see you guys later.
See ya.